We're all wondering what's going to happen in the real estate market. Commercial, residential. Commercial, I can kind of give some guidance, but when it comes to residential, I really like to stay in my lane because I've got a lot of friends in this industry. And so I reached out to my friend Peter Hernandez. He's the president of the Western region for Douglas-Eliman, a really great company. And I asked him to come on today and really walk us through what he thinks is going to be the future of residential real estate. And he gave us a lot of ideas. So you're going to want to check the video out. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Joe Killinger. I've been a real estate entrepreneur for over 20 some years. And notice I don't like to say exactly how long. But just know that I wasn't great when I started. But I use this channel to really bring people like Peter on and pick their brain. What do you think is going to happen in this industry? Let's hear your tips and tricks and advice. And so make sure you check out the video. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe. So Peter, now how long have you been in real estate? Residential real estate?
It has been a long time, Joe. I got my
I've
license.
known you a long time. And
No, I mean, it's been really
you've
long.
been at it for a while then.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really long. I got my license when I was 18.
Oh, yeah.
And that was in 1970. I was born in 52. So it was like 1970-ish, I got my license. And I got my brokerage license in like a couple of years after that, right away. So I got my brokerage license in 72. And I've been practicing this business ever since. And funny thing is, I'm probably more excited about it now than even back then. I mean, in fact, back then I wasn't that excited about it, believe it or not. I sort of was like oh my gosh, am I really going to become a real estate agent? I mean, that was kind of my attitude. I mean, all my friends were becoming lawyers and doctors, and here I am going to be a real estate agent. And it wasn't until something flipped where I really saw it as a profession, as something that I could do with dignity and grace and integrity that it clicked for me. But it was a while there. I was thinking, oh man, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, it's a tough road when you get started, but once you get going. Now your path was, you were at TELUS, right? What was before TELUS?
Well, my path goes, I mean, if you really want to know the whole history, my path began with my father. He had a company called Hernandez Realty.
Okay.
In Marina Del Rey, and he opened that firm in 64. My brother joined it, and together they became partners, and then I joined it in 70. So that was the very beginning. And then I went from there to John Douglas as an agent, became a manager at John Douglas. Mm-hmm. And then John Douglas sold to Coldwell Banker.
Right.
And then Coldwell Banker promoted me to president of Orange County. So I became the president and chief operating officer for the Orange County region for Coldwell Banker, which was a wonderful opportunity. And then while I was doing that, about my 5th or 6th year, I got this crazy idea to start TELUS Properties. And a couple of us guys, we formed TELUS Properties and did that for 10 years, and then sold it to Douglas-Eliman. And now, believe it or not, I've already been at Douglas-Eliman for 5 years. So it'll be this August, it'll be 5 years, which is just crazy how fast time goes.
Yeah. I kind of want to set the line here, the baseline, so everybody can know how long you've been in the business. And, you've seen a bunch of cycles, and we've obviously been in an up cycle for, 10, 12 years. What do you think? What do you see? What do you see is going to be happening over the next couple of years?
Well, I've been in so many cycles. In the 70s, we had the gas crisis.
Yeah.
Then we went into the 80s, and we had I think it was the savings and loan bankruptcies that all happened when all savings and loans went down. And then, the 90s. Yeah, I mean, there was a Milliken bond crisis. I can't remember all the recessions I've been through. Then there was the Shearson-Lehman meltdown. I mean, and so there's been so many different events. How about 9/11? We had And it was always described to me that there's economic turndowns, and then there's also what they call bumps in the road. And 2001 ended up being a bump in the road. I don't know if you remember that, but when that happened, everybody was predicting the worst, and that was actually when I was being promoted to president of Coldwell Banker, and everybody was telling me, "Don't buy a house, the market's going to crash." And I ended up going with my gut and bought one. And then, as you know, that became the biggest run up ever to 2007, we ever saw in real estate. So, we hear this a lot that, predicting what's going to happen next is really, really tough to do because nobody can really see forward. But you kind of go on, history repeats, we know that. And we know that you can, like, from your experiences of past recessions and upturns and things, like, kind of get a vibe or a feel and get a sense of where things are going. And, I'm not like 100% sure of where I think this is going to go forward, but I was talking to a good friend last night about one of his properties, and he was saying, what should I do? Should I, and I think right now, I mean, if you want to play it safe, get out, sell, you know what I mean? And don't like sit on the market hoping that the market's going to catch your price or that you're going to, it's going to turn anytime, different, because the momentum right now is that rates are rising. We got a horrible inflation report today from the Fed. I think they said it was like 8.9% or something, like the highest in years. And, that takes you back to the 80s when we had high inflation there and interest rates went up to 20%. So, we're seeing a very highly, inflationary economy right now. We're seeing interest rates going up, which affects affordability. We're seeing a lot of, like we were talking earlier, tech firms that aren't making profits. We see, I call them experimental currencies like Bitcoin and all these different, blockchain, NFTs and all that out there that, you wonder, like what effect that could have, that there are volatilities and things like that. You got a stock market where people have lost, I think my personal account's down 25%, which is not fun.
Yeah.
And you've got like a war in Ukraine, just throw that on top of the whole thing. And so I think people are uncertain right now. And when people are uncertain, then they sometimes hold back from selling and buying, and they want to see what happens. Yet in the trenches, as we speak, we're still getting multiple offers. It feels like instead of traveling at 100 miles an hour, we're traveling at 85 miles an hour. People are still putting deals together. And, there's a lot of activity in the marketplace still. A friend of mine just listed a house, like $4.5 million, and I thought, wow, that's a pretty high price for that neighborhood. And boom, 3 offers. And so it's like that too. So it's hard to look forward. And at first, and I think still, I'm hoping this is a speed bump like 9/11.
Right.
Because there's a lot of other things in place that I think, we have low inventory, lots of buyer demand. Real estate coming out of COVID proved to be one of the most, I would say, desirable, assets you could own, because you can touch it, feel it, live in it, use it, rent it. There's so many things you can do with it. It's not just, a piece of paper that says you own Apple or something. And so there's a real nice, cozy feeling about real estate that I think people like.
Yeah, and you also said one thing that I think everybody has to remember is the interest rates in the 80s, high teen, 20, and we're nowhere near that. We're nowhere near that right now. So interest rates are still, I mean, the last several years we've had it pretty good, right? And, if we get back to the fundamentals, I think it's just everybody over the last several years, it's been pretty easy to make money in real estate, right? And so, get it listed, get it on the market, buy it right. But it's been a lot more speculation than investing. And so I think we're going to get back to the fundamentals. You're going to see investors that really get back to the fundamentals, and homeowners that stick with their fundamentals, and they'll do well still. They can still do well.
We have, being on the inside, Joe, we have the ability to kind of look at the data 2 ways. We can look at the data by looking backwards. I call it looking in the rearview mirror and seeing what closed recently. And we can go back and say, in the last 30 days, things sold. This is the average price. It's up this amount. This is the average days on market these things took to sell. And we can go through all those kind of statistics and things like that. But that is a rear view mirror look. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily say, as we look out the windshield, what's happening in the future, right? I mean, we're looking backwards, and, we're going to make decisions based on things that have occurred, in the last 90, 60, 30 days, which is typical escrow periods. But, sometimes between then and now, there could be a shift of the mood or the swing in things. And so, like, I love looking at the signed contract reports that we put out. We put out what's in escrow right now? What are the prices these things are? And this gives you I call it the windshield look. I call it the futures, what's in escrow now is going to close in 30, 60, 90 days. And so we kind of get a little glimpse in the future. And we are seeing a slight change in the market where, demand was like this and listing inventory was like this. It was almost an inverse curve where demand's going up and new signed listings are way down here. It's starting to do this now, where demand is tapering a bit because some people are concerned.
Right.
And other people are saying, well, maybe now is the time to put my property on the market because I think this could be the top.
Yeah.
And so that they're starting to intercept. So when you go from 80 to 85, it can feel like tremendous to us in the industry or to the consumer. But in reality, an 80 mile an hour is still over the speed limit and we're still going too fast. And I think that the real estate market for the moment is still very, very good.
Oh yeah, I do too. And I know Southern California residential a little bit, but I know inventory was down to just around a month. And you typically like to see it 7 months?
Yeah, and that's a typical market, and we're nowhere near that.
Yeah,
we may be up to 2 months right now, or 2.5, I think, at the most.
But it's been increasing though, right? Because I've started seeing open
A little
house.
bit.
Yeah, I was riding motorcycle around. I check out, and I start seeing open house signs. I'm like, hey, haven't seen these for a couple of years.
Well, you couldn't really have them either. So that's not,
true.
So that's, we're coming out of COVID, I hope, at least, we got monkeypox or whatever that is. And
coming around. Yeah, no, it just seems like
it feels much better. I mean, it's so great to be out and about.
Oh, doesn't it? Yeah, being out in the motorcycles. Actually, you know what? Being out on the motorcycle, there's a lot more traffic now, but I was, even Memorial Day weekend, there were open houses. So I was a little concerned now that going to bring more people out onto the road. But price points, are you seeing the high end or the low end? The high end is still pretty active, is my understanding, right? It's a lower end that's kind of been tapering off a little bit more.
Well, I think so. I mean, I haven't actually myself personally studied it, but I think that my gut would tell me that, interest rates affect the entry level buyers more than it would the wealthy. And so the wealthy will be influenced by interest rates only from probably a psychological level.
Yeah.
Not the affordability as much. But for somebody that's really trying to squeeze into a payment and they're trying to make it, in that 25 to 33% of their monthly income to qualify for a loan, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so that would be a factor. I had another friend that was selling a project out, and he was saying, like, I'm down to my last unit, what should I do? And I thought, maybe what you should do is carry the paper on the last unit, because you could offer a low interest rate, which would take away everybody's objection, if there was any objections.
Yeah.
I think becoming creative like that, thinking about, opportunities or ways to mitigate some of these objections that could be in the marketplace would be great, because I think still everybody really wants to own a home.
Yeah, I think so. Now I see Douglas-Eliman. You guys are opening offices. I saw you just opened one in Texas earlier.
Yeah, we are. We're, as we're kind of seen as we are actually a luxury brand. We love working with first-time buyers and entry level. We kind of look at ourselves like Mercedes-Benz. We sell C classes and Maybachs, so we do the whole thing. But as a rule, we open in areas where our clients are, and so we vote. We've got Texas going strong. We're in Houston, Dallas, and Austin now, in San Antonio. We just opened in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we know we're in Colorado and and Aspen and Snowmass, and we're in California through the the purchase of Telus Properties. So it's I think we have 11 offices in California. So we're growing pretty quickly, but carefully too. I think we're super conservative as a firm. We don't believe in crazy spending and just grow for the sake of growing, and it's going really well.
Yeah, you guys are doing the kind of smart growth thing instead of just some of your competitors have gone out and bought locations and have right down the street from one another. And, it's, I think it's going to be hard for those type of companies to exist. I don't know how you what the game is there. So it can be tough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Do you think actually, that's a good point. Do you think you're going to see some residential companies calling it quits?
Yeah, I would never wish that on any of my.
No. I don't wish it on anybody, but I think, if you haven't made money in the last 10 years, right, and you're a company, you're probably
it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder to make money. That's
not going to get easier.
No, it's not going to get easier. That's a true fact. And I think companies are going to have to look at their expenses. They're going to have to look at their bricks and mortar. The bricks and mortar is the biggest expense, and I think you got to, strategically locate yourself and service as many markets as you can from one office than trying to have an office in each little sub-market of a market, because you can't make that work. It's not possible. With the current agent splits and the expenses of running a brokerage right now, to have, locations that will never be profitable no matter what you do, are just going to drag on the entire company. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of companies here, commercial companies, smaller, but commercial companies have just been acquired by bigger companies. And so, it's already starting to happen in commercial. And so I think you'll probably see, we go through this cycle. I mean, think about the last 15 years, how many companies, Euratellus, now it's Douglas-Eliman. There was, I can't remember, the Partners Trust is now part of,
there was Compass, I think.
Compass, isn't it? Yeah. Got to see. I can't even keep up. There's so many companies out there. So
I know. I actually think the commercial side, your side's a little stabler.
Yeah, I think so. We tend to be a little bit smaller. So unless you get into the big boys, but there's a good number of independents, but they're nowhere near the size that
so tell me, Joe, tell me some of the trends you're seeing on the commercial side.
You're seeing that. Well, we were starting to see office making tick back and I'm talking about California. So, but retail has been on fire. We're still seeing a lot of our agents are getting retail clients that are calling in. Multifamily, we just need more of it. You're starting to see that loosen up. You're seeing that loosen up pretty nicely right now.
Are rents still going up in your opinion?
Yeah, right now they are.
Yeah.
We just did a study last week. I do see that that's going to have to stabilize, because what some of the rents these people are getting is just, there's been, if you've been watching CNBC and all these other MSNBC and all, there've been a lot of layoffs lately. So I think that eventually is going to hit payrolls, and it's going to stabilize them pretty quickly. And, that's going to filter down to the rents. People just aren't going to be able to afford the rents that are out there. I mean, I was in a one bedroom that it was, I don't know how many square feet it was, but maybe 700 square feet, and it was almost $4,000. And I'm like, how in God's name does anybody afford this? Then there was extra for parking. So actually it was just under 4,000. So I think you're going to see that that's going to stabilize. Like, they just can't keep going up like they have been. But industrial, if we could build more, we would. It's just there's not enough of that some of the brokers.
Yeah, I see that too. Like up in Oxnard, up in that area, it's going crazy. Ventura,
Inland Empire's got stuff. So that's when they say that some of the Amazon that overbuilt, well, they'll be able to get that leased out if they want to right away, because there's a lot of people been looking for it, or they'll be able to flip out of it and probably make money on it.
Yeah, I see retail doing really, really well. I live in Malibu, and I'm looking at, Cross Creek develop out. And it's so funny. I have a little funny running argument with my wife, because, he says they can't build anymore. No one's going to rent them. There's vacancies already. And then as they build and grow, the vacancies are filling faster than ever.
Yeah.
And it's almost like energy creates energy, or by having more businesses potentially opening creates more businesses for the businesses that are already there. And you can see these things are just leasing up like crazy.
Yeah. No, it's there's a brand new 24 floor high rise right behind us. And I thought, man, how are they going to lease that out? It took them a year and a half to build it. And I tell you what, they're probably at 60%, and they just opened up not even 60 days ago.
And what do you think about offices? We were talking about, I know real estate offices are kind of quiet right now. And I know that agents aren't going in like they used to.
Yeah, we're seeing people are slowly trickling back in, especially when you start getting the news how many layoffs have been happening the last couple of weeks. all of a sudden your employees want to be seen a lot more. And so
Uh,
they're in the office being seen a little bit more. We're talking to some of our
right.
clients and go, yeah, it's kind of a weird phenomenon that everybody's showing up now.
That's
So
great.
I don't know if that could be a temporary thing, but office is obviously there has to be a shuffle. You're not going to go back in and have the old office. You're going to have to make it worthwhile. Well, we built, we're in West LA. When we built our office, we've got an agent lounge. So we've got a whole office set aside that has couches and chairs and a big screen TV that they can sit and relax and work on their computer there if they want to on the big screen, or watch a movie, whatever they want to do. And we've got a bunch of stuff in there for them. And it's you have to make it an environment that people want to be in every day. And I think that's, you got to entice them in.
What do you think about like trends? Like you see some offices and hotels, they're converting their uses. Like I know offices are becoming condo projects and
Yep.
and hotels, I think too, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, I think that's so interesting because
Yep.
buildings can adapt to the needs and the demand.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, if we've actually just got a email on a hotel that could be, and it's down in Orange County, could be converted to a multifamily pretty easily. And it's priced a little high right now, but if they get it down, the lot's perfect, just need some covered parking, and you got a really good building. But converting office to multifamily is pretty expensive, and the cost that you've got right now for all the goods, it can be a little harsh. I mean, you'd have to be in a high end, pretty high market area. You'd want to make sure you had enough people to fill that place up pretty quickly, because it's, wood is through the roof. Actually, it's come down a little bit, but
Yeah.
you've got to make sure that if you're going to repurpose a building, you better make sure there's a real use for it.
Right.
But you are seeing it.
Well, I mean, I think in real estate, I think people are moving back to the cities again. There was a flight a little bit from cities. You see that happening, people going back to cities, but you also see people moving further away because the ones that don't have to go into the offices can work from anywhere. So I think in many ways we're coming out of this period with, probably eyes more wide open on possibilities and opportunities and things that we can do, where maybe we were really closed in our thinking and small-minded. Now there's just I think so many potential opportunities everywhere you look.
Oh yeah. I think, that's, we get into this business, everybody that's in real estate is pretty much an entrepreneur, right? I mean, we got in this because we feel that we're creative enough to get our name out there. We know how to be, to excel at the business. But I think more so in commercial than residential, but commercial, there's a real opportunity for somebody to get into the business. And if you're willing to do the marketing that it takes, I mean, you're the king of Instagram. I mean, you're always putting great content out. And, you could go into a market. If let's say you're a multifamily broker in West LA, you want to take over that market, then get that content out, bring value every time you do it. And you put that on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, even TikTok is starting to really take off for commercial real estate. I see some of these guys that are doing it around the country and they're doing very, very well with it. I think it's a real opportunity right now for somebody in commercial real estate. And I think it'd be a little harder in residential because you guys have always kind of been ahead of the curve with that compared to commercial. You got a lot of people out there doing it. You guys have all those people on those TV shows at Douglas-Eliman, correct?
Yeah, we've got big agents like Eklund and Altman and Josh Flagg and Tracy Tudor and a bunch of people on shows, and then their social media accounts play off that, and the shows play off their social media accounts, and it's helped them a lot. And there's a lot of agents that don't have shows that realize they can have their own shows and their own content and their own ability to market. And I don't even call it social media. I call it business media, Joe.
Yep.
I think the social aspect is kind of funky because I think social is still social, face to face and like that. But I think from a business point of view, it's so much better than taking out an ad or sending a postcard, or you can reach so many more people so much more easily, and you have such good control of the content and the messaging and all that. And I think if people, look at it more seriously as their way to, promote themselves and to brand themselves, like you say, whether in commercial or residential. And it's funny, sometimes people can get discouraged because they can say, oh, I'm not going to do that. Everyone does it. But you know what? Everyone's not doing it. It looks like everyone's doing it. But seriously, I would say 10% at max are using social media. It just looks like a lot. So I believe there's a ton of opportunity in residential and commercial for agents to really build their businesses, through some of these different things. And never has it equalized the playing fields so much in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always kind of a rule of thumb. Residential first, you guys always break through. Commercial always kind of watch you. You guys go, that's a good idea. But I mean, in commercial, there's very, very few people. I think our company is one that we put a lot of content out under Commercial Brokers International, and our agents put a lot of content out, but not that many brokers do. So
here's where you guys are good. And this is where residential real estate agents have to step it up. It's like, we're taught, go out, knock doors, get a listing, put it on the MLS, working hard, sell it, go knock doors and get a listing. Yeah. I'm making it sound really simple, but that's the idea.
Sure.
You guys, on the other hand, network, find out what's being sold. You don't really have like the same MLS system that we have. It's great with CoStar and LoopNet and all that, but there's so much off-market deals being done, which has been a way of commercial for years. You guys have become professional networkers and know how to connect dots. Like you'll find out this person wants this person has this, we're going to do a 1031 exchange, but now we still need another up leg. And you just keep putting these super cool, complex transactions together. And, I think the residential agent world has to start thinking that way in this low inventory market. Like if I say to you, Joe, I want to sell my house and I'm not going to list it because there's no place to go. That doesn't mean I'm not a seller.
Right.
It just means I'm not willing to list. And you get that a lot in commercial, and you guys know how to take that. I would put first of all, they don't want to put their property on the market because they don't want to establish a low value. I know that mindset.
Yep.
Right. Or they'll even leave units vacant in commercial so that they can say they're worth this so they can get a higher number. I mean, things like that. So it's a different world of sophistication, I would say.
Yep.
And so you have this building for sale that's not on the market. You have this buyer, but and then you just start deal chaining. And I think that's like so sophisticated and cool. So think about it for a second in terms of what you would coach a residential agent, because we're kind of in the same boat right now.
Yeah.
Or worse, we're worse because we have a NAR policy called clear cooperation, which means I can't market my pockets to brokers outside my company.
Right. Yeah, I heard that one. That's amazing.
I mean, that's to me I'll just say it. Is anti-consumer. That's anti-consumer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm not in charge.
Now, Peter, is that a California thing or is that a national?
That's national. That's a national thing that, pocket listings can only be marketed within the company, which to me would really hurt small brokerages.
Yeah, it would. Absolutely, it would.
But there's reasons. I mean, that fair housing reasons are being brought into play as an argument for it, which I'm not quite sure I understand, but I'm sure studies have been done. And there's also a effort to get people to list and put the properties on the market. But so many of our clients just don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun time. We're figuring a lot of stuff out, going through a lot of changes, right? So you got to get up every day and do your research. I mean, for us, we're reading Globe Street and BizNow and Plain Vanilla Shell and QSR. Kind of keep your eyes on what's coming. And, there's a lot that's changing. And I kind of think, we've seen, this business is going to evolve, because I do think you're right that you've got to be looking at different ways to do things. I mean, I still get postcards from commercial agents at my house, and I'm like, I don't remember the last time I've looked at one of those.
Right.
It just doesn't work. But I know you're busy, and we're getting kind of long in the tooth, but
I'm sorry.
Nice to see you, and I appreciate you coming on. So now, if I'm an agent and want to talk to Douglas-Eliman, how do I get hold of you?
Just contact me directly.
Okay.
Peter Hernandez. You can find me on Instagram, PH Hernandez, or you can find me at peter.hernandez@eliman.com.
Okay. And you should check out his Instagram. He's got some great stuff going on there every day. And for those of you watching, thank you for watching today. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe and check back.
All right, Joe. Great. Thanks for having me.
Peter, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay.
You bet.